On today's episode of the show, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to take a look at 7 plays from the Vanier Cup last year between the University of Montreal and the eventual national champion Calgary Dinos. And I'm going to take a quick look at 7 different plays that I thought were interesting the high school coaches or summer league coaches could take a look at and add some element to their offense or defense. So these first two are 2 really interesting pressures. The first one is out of the tight front. So, anytime you're blitzing and you're in a 30 defensive structure, you have, 3 down defensive linemen, you're looking for ways to create different pressures with those other linebackers, and this was a really interesting one. So, on the back end, it's simple. They're just playing cover 0. You'll see the mics expanding there with the back, but if you look at this base tight front, you see this pre-snap shift. So their field backer here is going to walk from his traditional C gap into the B, and their Sam linebacker or their field side outside linebacker, he's going to actually walk inside as well. And when we get to the tight film, you'll see they get a clean rusher. We'll show you what trouble that gives the protection. So like in any 30 front, there's going to be lots of options in terms of how you protect it. A lot of people get into a 4-man slide. Key thing here is the location of the back is to the field. Now, I have no idea if they're checking the direction of this pressure based on where the back is, but, to me, that'd be an interesting way to do it, because if you can get those 2 guys that the back is theoretically responsible for rushing interior gaps, that's a great way to generate immediate pressure. So you'll see here with the back to the field, he's going to be responsible in all likelihood for the field backer and the Sam in pressure. Okay, and then the O-line is going to work some sort of 4-man slide or lock these guys up, and the guards would be responsible for those 2 linebackers. Either way, we're looking at some aspect there where the back is going to take care of those 2 outside rushers. Now, when you get this pre-snap motion, now all of a sudden the back's key is inside. Now, they go ultimately 50 protection. So here the guard ultimately ends up taking number 9, and if they were going to stay in 60, now you'd end up with the back on number 3 as the blitzer. Okay, but you're getting that guy in an interior rush lane and creating some confusion in the front. Ultimately, the O-line does a decent job, but you see the protection breaks down here. With the back releasing here, this tackle should really step down and take number 3, so then they let the widest guy run. But that pre-snap movement and the switching of responsibilities there really makes that tough. They time it up well, force the ball out. And you see there, the middle linebacker, this guy's got to get the ball out right now. This linebacker's all over it. Even if this ball gets caught, we're in a great situation there to create a tackle for a loss. So that one was straight cover 0. A similar pressure in terms of they're attacking the backside in protection and it's to the field. This is actually out of their tight front structure. We'll take a look from the end cut first just to see the blitz path. So what really interests me about this one, and we'll get into the coverage in a sec, and I think that's where, this is really interesting. So right here, this is out of their 4 down look. So, this guy doesn't have his hand in the dirt. I'm not sure their personnel, whether it's a linebacker or that's just their D end. But they're actually going to drop both their D ends out of this pressure, and it really only becomes a 4-man pressure. And what it looks like they're doing to me is either delaying the mic and trying to influence 33 out to the Sam to get the interior rusher, or they're actually doing what some people have called a share rush. So when these 2 are both going to blitz, and whichever one the back picks up or steps to first is going to then occupy the tackle to allow the other guy to come free. So watch this play out. So see how right now both these guys are almost running at the tackle. When the back declares, 43 now shoots inside knowing that tackle can't step down for him because he's being influenced by this blitzing backer. So again, I'm not sure if that's exactly what they're doing, but they're using some kind of delay, right? They rip inside. Again, this is the side of the back. Usually in protection, you're going to get 3-man slide away. Okay, and now, so that's going to create a big gap for this slant. He's going to look to step up, just hold the tackle for a second, then drop. And then they're looking to get 2 on the side of the back. Now, and ultimately they're able to eat up the tackle here with this rusher. Okay, he's not sure who to take, and then that triggers the mic. In terms of the coverage there, sorry if we just go back. This is the second aspect of this I really like. So you see they're getting, this looks like a much more significant pressure. It looks like they're bringing 6, but they drop out both defensive ends. Now to me, it looks like these guys to the field are playing man-to-man. Belt buckles are facing the receiver. Okay, but what's interesting is it looks like they actually both have outside leverage, and they're using that hook drop from the defensive end as kind of help on any sort of quick slant. So when Montreal runs these outs, they're all over it because they already have outside leverage. And they know that if this is a slant, if it's an in, or if it's like a hinge route, then in what it looks like to me is one of these two hook players should be able to drop underneath that. What that allows them to do is, like, a lot of teams would just play a straight cover 1 out of this. What it allows them to do is actually go 3-on-2 in the boundary. So you could play this like 2-man, but it looks like they have an inside-outside bracket on number 2, which is perfect because he's running the hinge. Well, maybe they are playing it like 2-man because that boundary side safety ends up dropping off. Either way, you're able to play 3-on-2 because your 4-on-3 to the field involves that dropout from the defensive end. So instead of playing traditional cover 1, which you can, stretch the field and sometimes it can be tough, they're able to have outside leverage on these outbreaking routes and be protected inside to the field, and in the boundary they're 3-on-2. Nice clean pressure. These next two are both kind of interesting RPOs off split zone. Montreal used a lot of like 21 personnel with two fullbacks or a tight end and a fullback in the game. So here, Montreal is going to bring that fullback across the set to kick out the defensive end, and they're going to read this Will, okay? With the 2 slant routes in behind him, he steps up, they're going to throw the slant. You can see this crease being generated. You can see right there this wall that's being built here in the zone, and then the split action creates that gap. If he steps up, they're going to be able to complete the slant. If he were to play off, you see that awesome cutback lane available to the running back. What was interesting is they actually did it off of a frontside RPO as well. So here you'll notice similar alignment, except this time there's single receivers in the boundary, tight ends in the boundary, so they've just flipped the formation. There are 2 receivers to the field. Their 2 receivers to the field are both going to run slants, again trying to win in man-to-man, and they're going to bring the fullback across the set. This time they're actually going to RPO the front side linebacker. Sorry, they're going to RPO the guy inside that second most receiver. In this set, it would be number 3 there. And the quarterback here, ultimately, the snap's bad, so he's not able to get in the mesh. But you see as he's reaching, if he was closer to his better snap, he's actually eyeing that space being created by the adjustment to the split zone. And they're able to throw the front side slant. Puts him in range to get a first down. So you'll really see it here. Number 3 is traveling to take care of that kick out block, and they're able to pull it and throw it to the other side. Next, this is an interesting wrinkle off screen draw. So 2nd and long, and Calgary's running a lot of 30. You see here that they're in a 2 high look. They're short in the box, whether they're going to play 2-man or some kind of quarters. Looks like 2-man. So they're short in the box. And you see this little shovel draw action, and they're able to get the O-line up on both linebackers. Ends up being a huge play for them on 2nd and long. Like any draw, really the key is making sure you don't get that interior pressure. So they're able to get a double team on this nose, right? And then work up to that linebacker and fold around for that second backer. And the action of the back getting up kind of getting lost in that B gap there really, makes it tough. This guy, he's looking through 1,200 pounds here to try and see the tailback. Ball shoveled back underneath. The two linemen do a great job downfield. It ends up being a great play for Montreal. This next one is one that's become a little more common. I think teams have seen the 49ers run it, and it's a great little wrinkle off split zone. So you're going to run inside zone up front, except you're going to leave the B gap or A gap defensive tackle on the backside, and your fullback's going to trap him. So your fullback's going to come across, and just like you'd have your fullback wham or slam back to the other side and hit that defensive end, now you're going to have him hit, especially if it's a 3-tech. It's a great look. Okay, and you're going to slip up to the linebacker. It hits like old school trap. Downhill. It's an 18-yard play on first down. Tackle on the backside, blocks back. Okay, and you're working to your linebackers just like you would on inside zone. So for inside zone teams, this is a simple ad that, really hits like trap and is a great way to take advantage of aggressive D-lines. Two more here, and this one, there's a little bit more window dressing on. Obviously, they're in the red zone, and they use a little bit of motion to this tight bunch. And they end up really with almost like a 4-man stack. And we see a really creative little hinge route there. Looks like initially like they got two guys going to the flat. And we see both the point man in the bunch and the wide man in the bunch return back to the inside. So they really have both throws here. But even if this expanding player had played it correctly and been able to wall that, now you're going to have this wrap throw in behind them. I think it's a great concept, especially down here. Big Canadian red zone, right? Against zero, you have that underneath right away. The bunch creates room for, opportunities for mistakes and switches. Ultimately it comes out really clean. That's our show for today. Make sure you check out information and register for our live Q&A with Coach Vince DiGaetano. Coach Dig is an expert in tackling, and we're really excited to have him on next Tuesday. Also, make sure you subscribe to us and follow us on all our social media platforms.